Alright, everybody, and welcome to another video. As I am nursing a headache, I'm going to try and get through this relatively quickly, also for all mistakes. Let's start off with this video because I didn't see this video beforehand, and I kind of wish I did, because it has a little piece of information, or two pieces of information, I think are quite interesting that Umi just didn't decide to advertise to us beforehand. First off, yes, character improvements, whatever. Yes, Cypher coming to the game. Already talked about him in a previous video. Talk about him again. But if you scroll a little bit ahead, check it out. There's the new vision card that'll be showing up next week. And it is not an Esper-based VC. And it is also actually original artwork, which is really cool. Love it. Awesome. We'll see what the details about that are, but you can bet support these three or one. I really actually, just as a side note, want to say that I hope it supports Cypher and Renoa in a single VC and not Squall, just for funsies. Anyway, also one other thing I want to highlight. This is news. Check it out. Edea actually does have a battle model now. Should mean that in next time that we see FF8 come back, which probably within about a year or so, there's going to be an Edea character. So all those people that I saw commenting in the recent video, good news for you. All right, now, with that being said, the first half of this video, I'm going to be talking about older Final Fantasy characters and their improvements. Then we will go forth and talk about FFPE characters and their improvements. And then we will finish off with FF8 weapons. That's just the way that we're going to do it. So starting off with Squall. Character who was much maligned when he came out, and I have a feeling that not much is gonna change. Alright, so first off, limit burst enhancement. Enhanced range on it. This has been upgraded to be a little bit further out. Destroys barriers now that reduce physical damage, lowers a certain percentage of single attack resistance turns, and high accuracy in that it is guaranteed hit. First off, guaranteed hit is fantastic. I love that. That is very thematic for a character like Squall, who just naturally has high accuracy. That was like that in all of his kit, just for flavor. But enhanced range means that this is likely to go off now, and single target resistance shred is excellent for him, and potentially his partner unit. So that's pretty cool. I'm really happy to see this. Also in group that he is in, that is another character who likes single target attack, so maybe he will survive being part of that group. But for now, definitely interesting. As for his master ability 2, slash attack resistance penetration up by 10, AoE resistance penetration by 30. Pretty cool. That is just naturally there from now on. And honeycomb barrier has been reinforced. Now it goes for 4 turns and gives an effect that reduces damage the further distance from you, from 2 up to 5 now. So it's essentially been extended, his honeycomb barrier. You right up close to do full damage. Don't know if it's good enough, but it is an improvement. So we're going to say that Squall has definitely a good amount of improvements to make him interesting, but whether or not he's competitive is another story that I don't want to test because I've already been burned twice. Next up, Renoa. Little sweetheart. Alright, limit burst now reduces a percentage of AoE attack resistance targets within 3 turns. Extra large damage now. Removes haste and invalidates haste for 3 turns. Has a chance of gradually decreasing HP from a poison effect. So absolutely amazing limit burst. I love this limit. It is a big AoE. It now supports her kit and other AoEs by just removing percentage of AoE resistance. Great for her DPS. Extra large damage. This thing hits harder now. But I absolutely love that it removes haste, but invalidates haste. So for instance, if she gets an attack off on, for instance, Ashimont, before Ashimont casts haste, or before he casts his limit burst, haste just doesn't go off now. It's curse haste. So Sephiroth haste. Anyway, it's an interesting effect and it's quite unique. So it's very interesting, but also just the poison status effect is pretty great on here too. You're getting quite a bit of value for this character's limit burst, and yeah, I have to say I'm really impressed, and probably one of my favorites. As for her master ability, activation time for her abilities, all abilities, down by 20%. That's huge for making her abilities much more instant. Own healing power up by 10, and debuff rate of 25 means that you can debuff her easily. Renoa was kind of already being run in Earth teams, and now she's just generally better across the entire board, so quite impressed with her overall improvements. Not much else to about that. As for Irving, I feel like this character is going to be... I might not have such nice things today. Alright, so Limit Burst, accuracy up for 3 turns. Enemy shooting attack resistance for 3 turns down. Greatly increases own debuff resistance for 3 turns. I don't really know if that's super good, so let's talk about the other thing, which is Master Quest. So reduce own physical damage to 25, cancel out after receiving damage twice, human killer up by 30 when dealing. I don't know, Irving, oh man, that limit burst doesn't feel super great. I wasn't already super positive about it. Dark is in such a not great place at the moment. Human kill, permanent 30 human killer is quite a bit up for his own attack, but given that human resistance kind of a thing, and that shooting doesn't really have much of a leg right now, I feel like this is a generally no. I don't think that Irving's upgrades are generally good enough just from this alone, and that would require his weapon as well. See, which is a slight problem, as it turns out that it is locked behind the Master Quest, and since I do not have Irving, I cannot get it at the time. And I'll keep an eye out for the actual details, but unfortunately it does make it difficult to talk. Alright, part 2 of this video. Let's talk about some other limit burst enhancements, starting with Elsie. Alright, so Elsie has gotten her limit burst improved by AP consumption has been reduced. Range has been enhanced. It's now also a diamond AoE. Gives an effect that increases physical damage for self for 3 turns. So basically your attack goes up. And has a chance of a sleep effect. Unable action. Not bad. I mean, like, stat effect is always interesting, especially with the range increase and the size of its increase. The fact that it has an AP cost down. A lot of that is really, really good. I don't know if it's good enough to get there, but it's entertaining because Elsie has always been the sleepy character, and I love that her limit burst finally sleep. Very thematically cool. Enough said. Moving on. Don't think she's incredibly good given where the meta currently is, but you never know. Status effects sometimes steal wins. Next up, over to the dark element. From Elsie to Beautiful Blade Leela. This character, limit burst AP consumption reduced, range enhanced after increasing own defense penetration rate for 3 turns, deals extremely large. And also disables sure hit effects for 3 turns, and slashing attack resistance greatly reduced. There's a bunch of stuff. It does a lot of things now, more than it already did. Pretty good. It's now a big plus, so it's like instead of just the one in the center and the one cardinal directions, now it's 2 in those cards. I don't know. To me, I don't like this one as much as Elsie because status effects can sometimes help old units just kind of win stuff, or at least delay long enough for stronger units to potentially get a little bit of a leg up and kill a team. And on an AoE, never be 100% sure that that won't just catch a bunch of units in there. So, okay. But this one, I mean, it's generally good powering up her other abilities, but I think the fact that it's kind of focused on evasion is beyond dead at this point, JP. And I don't think that this is going to be the thing that brings it back by any means. This one, kind of a disappointment. And last for limit burst upgrades is Ice Howlet. Increased zone mental penetration rate for 3 turns. Gives an effect also that increases magic damage. That's it. I mean, it already destroyed barriers. It already did a bunch of stuff, so I'm not really going to look too down on this. But this is a character that was kind of been pushed out and got mediocre upgrades through his Master 2 and whatnot. I've been pretty disappointed, and yes, my bravery is not super. I haven't increased bravery and faith on this character. I haven't stuck him in the fish. But I'm just not super crazy about this. This is a character that's been getting mediocre upgrades, and I think it's hurting him a lot. And that's too bad, because I really like Howlet, and he's in the ice element. So I'm going to classify this one. Alright. And next up is 2 Master Quests. First off, the most plain one that you can possibly get, Bridal Aya, who's a great character and has definitely benefited from Shawls too. That worked it into a video. Level 80, area attack resistance of 20. Cool. If you're thinking that's more like, sounds like just a general, like, whatever kind of thing, you're right, it is. It's just a little bit more resistance. I guess it puts her slightly on par with other units, but pretty unexciting. They just don't want Strike to be OP, do they? And her husband, her hubby. Let's talk about her hubby. Is he's somewhere in my. Here he is. You know what? You're on screen. Here, have some rainbow. Yum yum yum. Up to 89. We could do it if we wanted. And speaking of which, level 80. Own area attack resistance, penetration rate up by 30, and reduces physical damage by 10. Interesting. I think this character is kind of okay. He's always generally interesting, but boy, he's been pushed pretty far out of the ice meta and meta in general right now, and with Sephiroth just the way he is, I don't think that this upgrade's enough to make me even consider spending resources to get this guy up to 120 or more. Only got him up to 89, so count. Anyway, moving on. So let me talk really quickly about who I think are the best in this update. First off, Limit Burst upgrade. My award goes to Rinoa. It's not even a slight doubt in my mind. I think Rinoa already is a fantastic free character. I think she is really good. She's found her place even into the current power creep meta. She's found ways to sneak in there, and I think her Limit Burst is kind of even scarier now with the stuff that it is getting. I am curious if it could even get there. I don't know, but I love this character, so I'm kind of putting maybe a little bit more hope. Runner-up is Squall, just because, you know, Squall got the full package deal to actually make it better. And I think it is really good to have extended range and destroying barriers, which is something that he always needed anyway, but also single target resistance shred, high accuracy, already had bells on it. I think it's good. But yeah, Rinoa gets my first. As for Master Quests, everybody's a winner because they all got stuff that they previously didn't have before. But if I'm going to give it to anything, probably Squall, just because Squall got a fair amount of stuff. Permanent AoE resistant penetration, just, I love the way that sounds. As well as slash attack resistance. It just means that his DPS is better, which is something that he definitely always needed. His honeycomb barrier, I don't expect it to really make that much of a difference, but that's probably what it should have been. at the given time. So we'll give it to Squall and Renoa the happy but overall, the real winner of this is the announcement that Edea will eventually be coming to Wotv, potentially sooner than later, and also not in this collaboration. Don't get things too out of the way. But also, just taking a look at this update, Cypher is by far, to me, looking like the best FF8 character, which shouldn't be surprised because he's new. Now, to end this video, unfortunately, both Renoa and Irving's weapons are kind of locked out for me for right now. And nobody... Ooh, maybe I've stalled just enough. Yes, I have. All right, so let's talk about weapon upgrades. Starting off, let's head back in and take a look. Starting with... If I remember what element he's in. Squall. So Squall, initially this was slash attack up by 15, initial AP up by 10, critical rate up by 15, gives defense for a critical hit. Generally pretty good. Now also gives a CT up, minimal, on a critical hit. I'm not sure what the actual criteria is for this thing though, because in general, I'm curious if you can get multiple procs off this. His limit burst is a 4-hit attack, which means that if you could get 4 criticals, that would be a heckin' amount of CT and might actually be generally way better than it seems. If you can do that and get pretty quick into following up another attack. I don't know if it's quite there, but again, want to believe, but I'm also not getting burned. So we'll see. Either way, Lionheart's up seems pretty nice for this character and might actually, you know, finally replace out this for what it should be, which... There you go. All right, next up, let's talk about Renoa. Renoa's originally was only healing power up by 15. It was incredibly bad, and basically everybody said, well, just use any other glove. Way better. Now, what we are looking at for an improvement into +1, magic damage reduction of 10% when HP is 70% or higher, and AoE attack resistance penetration up by 10. I don't know. I kind of want to believe that this is actually good enough to be run or potentially run, because permanent AoE resistance just off of that might actually be generally good. Then you think about like the reliquary and some of the other equipment, and depending on what your goals are for this character, might differ from what it is. Either way, maybe some testing, some looking out, but that's generally what it is. Now, there is one other piece of equipment, but sadly that data is not available to me yet. Somebody else hasn't done it. And to highlight the end of this video and me eventually taking a break, I know it's been a long one, but just bear with me. I would like to highlight a JP deal that I just was notified about, which is in the shop. There's actually, for 1,000 regular this year, this is a ticket for 120 shards, as well as a bunch of water icons. Got like some awakening resources. I mean, not that those are super valuable, but they are pretty interesting. There's also Ember crystals for 1,000, and then just kind of goes into the regular. But this is pretty interesting because I just don't know why they're giving this. I mean, it's essentially a Joom shard. So like, you wanted 120 Joom shards to put them towards reincarnating your Joom. This is a fairly decent deal because 120 shards would be considerably more lapis. Depends if you're impatient, but it is a deal worth it because... Anyway. That's all for this. Thank you so much for watching. There are, of course, one more thing. For people who are super curious, yes, in the FF8 shop, there is just a refresh for all the characters getting the 40 shards for X amount of gold, so make sure you get that out on gold. Anyway, thanks so much for watching. I'm going to give my voice a break. See you later.